obviously the men's basketball team and how they played in their opener. I think it's funny because they're playing South Sudan next. I think after those exhibitions, everyone was like a little uncertain. Not that they wouldn't win or they wouldn't win the gold medal, but just like, like what's this going to look like? Is it going to be a little dicier than we expect? Is it going to be a little more dramatic than we expect? And even in the first quarter against Serbia, like, what's this going to be? Like, Jokic is playing really well. Durant plays great. When Jokic is out of the game, they end up just smashing. The U.S. wins pretty comfortably. So they'll play South Sudan on Wednesday. I actually want to start with the Olympics just because I think there's going to be just a heightened, interest in this. And then we'll do some season-long stuff as we go. The United States, a 29.5-point favorite over a team that almost pulled one of the great upsets like in the history of sports, really, or something like that. And total 190.5 in case people are curious in the totals. And I know you're curious or you're interested in the team total here. So US's next basketball game will be Wednesday in the afternoon, 3 o'clock Eastern time in Paris. Any thoughts on the betting market for that game?
Yeah, and I'm not going to come on a show at all like this and start taking bets against the United States of America. That just wouldn't be patriotic of me. So I have to take a bet for the U.S., and that's a really high spread, and it's a high spread. And I know, South Sudan, everyone talks about they're a great team. They're a fun team to watch. But when they match up against the U.S., they're obviously not going to come on par with the talent that the U.S. has. But it's a high spread, and maybe South Sudan gets a little bit lucky. We saw that they played decently well against Puerto Rico. They kind of surprised a lot of people. So I'm just going to keep it to the first half, and I'm going to keep it to the first half total. And I'll take the U.S. over 55.5 points in the first half. And they got 58 in their first game against Serbia. And they did that, too, with a tough start in the first quarter. I think they only got to double-digit points like 5+ minutes into that first quarter. And they went 2 minutes scoreless to start the game. So I think they will be able to get over this pretty easily against the South Sudan team that just they're not going to be able to have the defense for it or the talent to beat the U.S. in this situation. And I think they kind of got that first game jitters out of the way. People were talking about, as you said, in kind of the preseason games and the matchups where they didn't look all that special. They looked like they could be beat. I think they got all that out of the way. They realized they have the best players on earth. They realize they can score pretty much whenever they want, especially kind of against one of those lower tier teams in these Olympic games. I love that first half total. I think they can get 60+, honestly, in the first half. So over 55.5. I love this bet.
Ben, I've been telling everybody I'd bet against my mother in a fist fight if I thought the other girl was better. So I'll definitely bet against the U.S. I don't, it doesn't bother me the least bit. Got to make them dollar bills. Right. What about some of these other teams in the Olympics? Did anything else draw your eye or looking at these games, and did you find value somewhere?
Yeah, I like Australia to cover tonight against Canada. I think Australia is a bit of a sneaky good team. A lot of people are talking about Canada and about the talent that they have, all the NBA players they have, and not only players, but their stars, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort. They have these really big-name players that people are used to and know, so automatically they're going to be thinking Canada is going to be one of those top-tier teams, and they are, but Australia has some good players of their own. Josh Giddey's been putting on some pretty good performances for that team. They have Patty Mills, who, for whatever reason, he's kind of sundowned inside the NBA, but international competition, he's been great, 19 points against Spain, so Patty Mills is someone to look out for if you want to bet a point total. I believe it's at like 16. But I like Australia to cover, +6.5 against Canada. I think you watch what Canada did in their last game against Greece, and they didn't really inspire a ton of confidence. Greece kind of hung around, and they really didn't provide that ton of separation that I think people expected Canada to get. And I think Australia is a smart team. They play fast, which can throw Canada off their defensive ability if they get ahead of that Canada defense, which is really good on the perimeter. But if they can throw off that defense with the pace of play, I think they have a shot to not only cover 6.5, but win this game outright. So I'll take the Aussies. I think they can cover 6.5. And if you want to sprinkle a little bit on that money line, I wouldn't blame you.
I have to ask you about the tennis, though. Like, even somebody like me who isn't watching this at all, like, got a healthy dose of like Alcaraz and Nadal playing doubles, which was like really cool. Everybody's by now has probably seen the like iconic image of the two of them fist bumping at the same time. Djokovic, I'm pretty sure Djokovic was up huge. I'm guessing he won his match today against Nadal, so Nadal is out. Anything interesting going on with Olympic tennis that we should be aware of?
We're on head-to-head Joker Alcaraz gold medal right now.
Oh boy,
based on the way those two are playing. It's not a very it's not a very packed tournament in terms of talent. There's only a couple of guys who could really threaten either of them. Zverev maybe threatens Joker if he's on form when they play in the semifinals. Alcaraz, I don't think anyone's touching him. I have a pretty healthy bet on Alcaraz to ship it, and that's actually one of the reasons I really was kind of bullish on Spain making their paltry 4.5 gold medal win total, particularly if he can double with Nadal. But yeah, you maybe saw Nadal for the last time on Chatrier today against Joker. Okay. That would be a fitting, kind of final singles, match for him to play. And you know what? Hat tip to the French. They did a lot of weird things in the opening ceremonies, but the fact that they had Nadal involved, right? Like the fact that they reached out to like a Spanish athlete instead of just kind of keying on French people. Like they're like, he's important to the city of Paris. He's won 14 French Opens. Like he is a very important athlete to that city. And the fact that they showed that respect, I thought was way cool. And it was a cool moment seeing him play Joker ultimately in a loss. And he, I thought he actually was very, very respectful in that second set in terms of competing. So that was cool. So maybe he's not done. But yeah, really, really, really would love Alcaraz to double in the singles and the doubles with Nadal. That would be probably the highlight of the Olympics for me.
Jason Sobel will join us here on You Better You Bet. Now, looking at some of the other guys, maybe 20-1 or longer shots, is there anybody you see that you'd take a flyer on?
Yeah, so my favorite play, and I don't know if we'll get to it yet, but my favorite play is shorter than 20-1, but there's a few guys just outside that 20-1 number. I'm looking at Tom Kim, Corey Connors, Alex Noren. I think each make a lot of sense as course fits. Each make a lot of sense as guys who have sort of built up their momentum throughout the year, guys who have played well over the last few months. None of them have sort of hit that crescendo of like, okay, they won a big event now. I mean, golf is essentially a cyclical sport for everybody but the Scotty Schefflers out there and maybe the Xander Schauffele's. For the most part, you kind of ride that roller coaster up, you ride it back down. We're trying to catch the guys that are still on the way up. And those three players, like I said, Kim, Connors, and Noren are all still on the way up. As for my favorite player on the board, though, it's a short number this week, 11-1 at BetMGM. But I think Colin Morikawa is just absolutely due for a great week. He's been playing really well. He's done everything but win so far this year. And I'm not sure I've ever seen a golf course that fits his game the way this one does this week. Driving accuracy, the ball striking with his iron's been tremendous. Putter's been much improved this year. All he doesn't do that some of the best players do is he doesn't hit the ball a mile off the tee. That shouldn't matter this week. This should be a great golf course for him.
Last thing here, you talked about Lake and Morikawa. How do you feel about the rest of the group up top? I mean, you've mentioned Scheffler and Xander Schauffele. This has been an amazing part of it, like watching what he's done the past couple months here. Are you buying into, you like Morikawa? What about the other guys up top? I know they all can win it. Do you think any of the other ones will be in it down the stretch?
Look, Scotty Scheffler is so good that any place, anytime, he has a chance to win a golf tournament. And so it almost doesn't necessarily matter that they're playing on a shorter, tighter track. In fact, that might suit his game more so than some others. That said, look, for me, and same goes for Xander Schauffele. Look, the two at the top, the two favorites this week, two best players in the world, the two guys who are vying for PGA Tour Player of the Year, are all of those things because they are that talented and have been that good throughout the year. So can they win this week? Yes. I just can't get after, if it's plus 400, plus 550, and the guy that I like is at plus 1100, you can't put everybody on the card. And so if I've got to narrow it down, I've got to pick one guy from that top tier. Morikawa at his number. Like I said, it's if I can get him at close to 3 times the number that Scotty Scheffler is at this week, that feels like a lot of value in that top tier for me. So I will be on Morikawa. But look, if either Scotty or Xander again, because remember he won the gold medal 3 years ago in Japan, if either of those guys has a gold medal around his neck come Sunday afternoon, I will not be surprised in the least, and nobody should be.